Welcome to our podcasts, Wise Black Nanas, Life Coaching Between the Dash. Hey, what do you do when it feels like life has thrown you a few too many challenges, knocked you down, in the bed, hard to talk about even with your best friend challenges, and it feels like the challenges are winning? Wouldn't it be nice to hear from your Nana or a stand-in Wise Black Nana? Well, they are Wise Black Nanas, Charlotte Walker, PhD, and Joanne Early, MS, two mature women with over 70 plus years of combined coaching and mentoring, professional human resources, and business experience. The wonderful news is, these Wise Black Nanas are still living and learning about this amazing life, about resilience and grit, gratitude and appreciation, and the extraordinary power of love and friendships, being positive and supportive, and learning from others. Welcome to Wise Black Nanas. Let's listen in.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Charlotte Walker, one of the Wise Black Nanas, and this is episode 8.
Yeah, welcome. I'm Joanne Early, the other half of Wise Black Nanas. In this podcast, we talk about our views, our experience in life, and just the things that we've lived and done and are presently living. Welcome to a little different twist to our programs. Welcome to our questions episode. We've received several requests to kind of tap into our quote wisdom and answer some questions, not only to give our perspective on some pressing issues, but to get to know the Nanas at a little deeper level. So we've decided to dedicate a whole episode to just doing Q&A. So we had some wonderful help and assistance from our producer, and we promised her that we would allow her to collect the questions, put them in some type of organized manner, and then not send the questions to us until right before we start to record the session. So Wise Black Nanas, try to keep it real and try to keep it honest. So that's what we've done. So Dr. Charlotte, any comments?
Yeah, and we don't have pad answers. Our answers, as with the rest of our episodes and what we've been doing for the last 6 months, will be from our lived experiences as personal and professional. So I'm sure it's going to be exciting. Okay, we're ready to go.
Yeah. So other than, maybe about 20 minutes before we actually opened up to do our recording, we hadn't really seen the questions in advance. So like we said, we've not done any prep, we've not done any research. And so we're just ready to give it a go. And we hope this is not a you get what you ask for kind of thing. So let's see. What's our first question here? It says, "Hello, Wise Black Nanas. What was your very first job? How did you get it? Did you like it? And what did you learn?" Wow. First job. I wonder how far back.
Well, I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll start with that one.
All right.
My first real, what I would consider a real job, was with AT&T at that time. I was hired as a temporary directory assistance operator, or at that time 411 operator. They don't have those anymore.
Oh, I remember 411. You called for
I was a mere 18, and this was my first job, and I was making fabulous $90 a week. So,
wow.
And that was a lot of money during that time. I think that part of it was that it allowed me to get some stability in my life as far as structure, because as far as working for the phone company, I always used to say, I don't know if Joanne experiences, I used to say that you could steal them blind, but you had to be to work on time. You would get fired first for being late, then
The
you know,
taking
doing
something.
something corrupt or something like that. I'm making that real big, but the attendance was the thing. We had, I worked with a lady who had worked for 37 years, had perfect attendance. And, during that time, we got rewards, we got bracelets, we got nice silver and crystal. And it was always fun to like try to go 6 months or a year without any incidents at all. But however, this woman, she would come to work sick and make everybody else sick. So she would get all the rewards and we'd be out sick. But I think one of the key things that I learned is that there are people who pay attention to you and you don't know. You don't know that they're paying attention, watching you, watching how you move, um, and take an interest in you,
Yeah.
and and really come out of the woods and support you so that you don't get fired. Um, and that was, my first interaction on a job, on a real job, I would say.
Uh-huh.
And it taught me, but years later, to look for the same thing in people that work for me,
Uh-huh.
and also how to change my personality and attitude so that I can move within um, within an organization.
Now,
So,
when you say change your attitude and move, now I'm not implying that you had a bad attitude or anything.
well, I didn't.
Uh,
No, I didn't have.
what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
I didn't have a. As far as I'm concerned, I didn't have a bad attitude. My background foundation was with a lot of um, trauma and drama, and I wanted better for me and my children. So I felt that I had to have this what they call angry black woman thing. I didn't know they didn't have that name at the time,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to get ahead
Right.
or just be present. In other
Mm-hmm.
words, I needed to fight for everything when I really didn't need to have to fight for
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
you learn that as you grow and you mature. You get
Mm-hmm.
people in your life who tell you to stop that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you like the job? That was one of the, did you like the
I
work? Did you like the
did.
job?
I did like the job. It was pretty much an easy job. You
Yeah,
had these big
was.
old books, and then people call and say, Madeira, so and so. And Friday and Saturday nights were really wild because all we really had to do was we had a list of clubs, taxis, and motels, and that's all people called
Oh
for.
gosh.
So,
I'm getting a
um,
picture in my mind.
yeah. And then another part of the job I liked was called Rate and Route, which was really, really great because, like on the weekend, it was just mostly people would call for rates to make long distance phone calls to different cities and countries and stuff like that. So it was really easy. Most frequent things were already listed for us. We
Hmm.
created a
Hmm.
list for us, so it didn't take time. And I really like working what they call short evenings, but
Hmm.
because I didn't have any seniority, sorry, it was rare that I would get like a 4:30 to 10:30, and I mean I
Ah,
get paid for 8 hours
ah,
or a 5 to 11 or something. The
right.
senior folks got that,
Got
and
it.
every once in a while when they were on vacation, I was at the bottom. I think I was last two hired during a cycle, so we were at the bottom. So we always got the horrible hours. That's what I didn't like. We get 10 splits, which means uh 10 to 1:30, and then you come back at 6:30 and stay till
Oh,
10.
yeah, I remember though. Yeah, I remember that. Yes, yes.
So
Um,
So anything starting, earlier than that, it was great. You
Yeah.
know. So that was a teaching ground. It was a teaching ground for discipline, structure,
Mm-hmm.
and time management,
Mm-hmm.
because the customers don't wait,
Yeah.
they're calling in, and if you're late, you know, the call doesn't get answered at that time. So how about you, Joanne?
Yeah, I of course had similar work experience, as you. That's one of the things that drew us together over the years because we both had started working, for the same company and had some of the same experiences. So some of the acronyms you've used and some of the references that you've used, I know them. I know them well. In thinking about the question, and of course, while you were talking, I had a little bit of time in my mind to kind of turn this over. I think about my real first job goes back even further than that. It goes back to when I was, I think about a sophomore, in high school. I had this, uh, crazy idea that, I could work at this diner in our neighborhood. There was a area in our neighborhood that was populated with businesses, and there were some restaurants and cafes and that. So I had this idea that, I could work as a waitress and make enough money to buy my school clothes and blah, blah, blah. Well, that was probably the longest summer of my whole life, and I learned so much working in that little diner. It was right on the corner, and people would come in for breakfast or they'd come in for lunch. I never worked the later shift. I always either worked breakfast or lunch. And I really learned how customer service. I think customer service, patience, and just how to serve people, and how to, just kind of be courteous to people. I think, always a courteous person, but I really was pressed in that short summer. And it's interesting because by the end of that, I kind of knew what kind of work I did not want to do. And while I had fun and my friends would come in and I had my uniform on and I would serve them a burger or fries or whatever it was, a fish sandwich or whatever it was they were ordering. And a lot of times they would come in just to hassle me a little bit, as I was working because that was not considered, I don't know, the very best job to have. But it was one where you can make extra money as tips. And so, like I said, I had this grand idea that I could make a lot of money from that. But I got a lot. I don't know that I would say that I liked it. I enjoyed the interaction. And it was also early indication that I really did like working with people. And I certainly didn't know it then at that early point in my life, but I didn't really know that I would almost always have jobs that involved working with people and, doing some kind of problem solving or providing some type of assistance or whatever. So I'd say I learned some of my very early like customer service skills working there. I learned, a lot of patience because sometimes I couldn't get, the dishes just right. And the older people that I worked for and the owner that I worked for, they were like really strict around
Yeah,
presentation and making a plate look nice. And sometimes I just wouldn't, kind of measure up to that. So they didn't have a problem at all with, well, I'll call it constructive feedback. But it really was you're like, girl, you can't give anybody a plate of food looking like this. That's I can still hear those voices. So I learned a lot of servicing skills from
right.
that experience and how to be comfortable, also kind of handling money. too, because that wasn't really something that I had a bunch of experience with. But I grew comfortable, counting out change and leaving people their change and running up their tabs and, and that type of thing. So I learned a lot of servicing skills and some technical skills from that job that I think, kind of set me up for additional work that I did later on.
Yeah,
So
that's hard. That was hard work. That was something that I didn't want to do. So
yeah, yeah. I think the thing about that waitressing job in that little cafe made it really fun because, as I said, my friends would come in there and I would look, like I was doing something important because I had my uniform on and and I could make them change or I could make them a milkshake and I'd always give them a little extra, a little extra ice
right.
cream, whatever. So anyway, that was kind of a fun thing, but that really was my first like formal job. And I hadn't thought about that in years and years and years. But I have to think that it certainly was a part of my foundation. And I know it was my first time actually interacting with people in a work situation. I mean, really interacting with people and having patience because sometimes the tables weren't cleared off and people would have an attitude or they'd be mad. I'm in a hurry. I got to get to work or. And so it taught me how not to, just how to know that they weren't mad at me, that they really were dealing with their own stuff and they were running late. So the fact that we didn't have the tables already cleared and set up, that just kind of added to it. So I probably fall back on a lot of that basic kind of training without even thinking about where that's come from. So, guys, so
Yeah.
this question's made me kind of walk down memory lane a little bit.
Yeah. I have a question
So,
for you.
yeah.
Do you still know your service rep shorthand?
Oh, we're going back to when we worked for the phone, quote phone company. You
Uh-huh.
know what? I do still. Shirley's referring to when we were both service reps
Trained, yeah.
trained, and we worked in what was called at that time the business office.
Was it
We
billing
learned
and
go ahead.
it was billing services?
Yes, it was in billing, and we answered questions about customers' bills, and we resolved issues, made payment arrangements, and all that stuff. Really big time job. So we were trained to do this kind of shorthand in a kind of script where you drop the vowels in most cases. And
Right.
so yes, I still use that shorthand to some degree today. I still use that
I do,
today.
yeah,
So
I do too. I also have, you're gonna laugh, and I knew we were doing this. I have my first ID that says AT&T
oh
and my
my
record as an
goodness.
operator.
Do
I
you
don't even
really?
remember how I got it, but anyway, it's just weird to look that big old afro that I had at the time.
Oh, wow. That's right, because it did have your picture. Wow. Wow.
I was like
Wow.
100 pounds, so
Oh. Those are the pictures that we love to look back on. They really are. They really are. So I think maybe enough on, I hope we've answered that first question okay. It's like, yeah, we did
yeah,
learn some things
yeah,
from our first jobs and a lot of them are still with us and it looks like it brought up a lot of pleasant memories from thinking about it too. Um,
absolutely.
okay, so our next question is, okay, so this is our next one. It says, Dear Wise Black Nanas, I really want to start my own business. As successful entrepreneurs, I don't know about that. What advice can you give me? Ah, what advice can you give me?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. Well, like I said, I had to stop and think. Successful entrepreneurs, we definitely are entrepreneurs and, thinking up. I mean, this whole Wise Black Nana's venture is an entrepreneurial effort. Um, I would, oh shoot, what advice? Gosh, I would say one of the big things. that I would probably say to someone is make sure as much as you can that it's really something you want to do. That I hope that makes sense, that it's something
Absolutely. The passion.
that you want to do. Yeah, we hear a lot about, oh, I'm passionate about this, I'm passionate about that. I don't know that I'm passionate about doing a podcast, quite honestly. I just know that I thought it would be fun. It would be a great way to do a project with, a lifelong colleague and friend. And it might be a way that it could help, you know, others, help people. I just say don't always look at, is this something that's going to make me a ton of money? Because a lot of times things don't, and they're wildly successful. And so I don't know. I think that would be my advice is make sure it's make sure it's something that you really want to do because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of commitment, and in most cases you have to learn a lot of new things. And let's face it, if you're not open to learning new things and putting yourself out there, kind of taking a risk, putting yourself in some unfamiliar territory, you might run into some challenges. How about you?
Oh, well, Joanne, you know me for 40 plus years. You know how I just jump in. No, no. No, I don't just jump in if I'm really a big risk taker as far as trying new things and
Hmm.
doing new things. But I do have a plan. I always plan it out. Uh, Particularly, the financial part of it, um, and if I can really afford it. And it's important that it's something that we talk about that I'm passionate about, that I have resources that I know that will help me be successful.
Hmm.
And I mean, there's a couple times that it hasn't been, but I learned from that. And I think it's important that if you want to be an entrepreneur, then you should test it out. You should, maybe not start big, but
Hmm.
start smaller than you anticipate. In other words, don't go open up a Macy's where you can get a kiosk in the store. Maybe that's how you start. I'm not saying that, but and then you can see what customers think of your products, and then you can move in, to a space in the store, and then eventually have a storefront. A lot goes into that. A lot went into our dream here of Wise Black Nanas. Um, since Joe and I are mature folks, we at the beginning knew that we didn't want to learn, but we chose not to learn a lot of the technical aspects of what was required to have a podcast. And so we pay someone for those services, and you know we talked about it. We talked about the pros and the cons, and it'll just, to me, is a service that is worth being paid for, because I don't want to learn all
Yeah,
that. So
yeah, right.
you have to decide, what your resources are, uh, who they're going to be. You want to make sure they're reliable. That's why I'm saying you want to do test marketing. Start small, if you can. Um, I never did, but anyway, um, but I was just blessed that things were successful.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's important to always evaluate why you're doing what you're doing and what your goal was,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
because
like
a lot
our
of times we're
goal.
thinking, it's time to do something, or oh, I really should be doing this, or all my friends have their own businesses, so I should have mine. my own business, or I should have some type of quote entrepreneurial effort that's going on. Well, maybe that's not, really, maybe the timing isn't right, or maybe your finances aren't at a place so that you can dive right in. So, yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes you have to start small, or you have to maybe do some aspect of that entrepreneurial effort. It doesn't have to always be the Macy's or the Bloomingdale's. It could be a small kiosk, or it could be a small place at the Saturday markets,
Mhm.
to get going and to get your name out there. I just think again, it's a lot of, is this something you really, really want to do and commit to? And then you know what? Another thing I'd like to say is that so many times um, we do get questions from individuals. I really want to do something on my own. I want to start my own business, but I don't know what that is. Well, I
Right.
think until you kind of know or have an idea of what that might be, you might just be putting your efforts, in a place that's not gonna materialize. Do you have to be 100% um, or even 50% successful on your first one, two, three, four tries at something? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying do your research. Think about what it is you think you're going to want to stay up all night working on. What is it
Yeah.
you think you want to work on the weekends? Because sometimes you think,
Take away from your family,
yeah,
other
yeah,
activities, et
yeah,
cetera.
yeah, you think, oh, I hate my job, so I'm going to start my own business and it'll be so much easier. Well, guess what? It's not easier. In fact, it's a lot harder because you're doing all those jobs. You're doing all those things. So, definitely want to encourage anybody that's thinking about doing your own thing, starting an entrepreneurial effort, starting a podcast, starting a YouTube channel, any of that, absolutely pursue it. Just do your homework. Make sure this is something you really want to dedicate, your it's kind of your life to, because it can have a way of taking over your life. But don't give
Yeah.
up. Don't give up.
Yeah. Never give up. Never
Never
give up.
give
One
up.
thing I can add is that through my experience, you absolutely must have someone as a partner or resource who believes in what you're doing and is supportive
Ah,
and
yes.
has the same passion as you do.
Yeah.
If you don't, there will be some disappointment, restarts, and lack of resources. So be very careful with your selection. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm probably gonna get slapped
It's,
upside the head, but
uh-oh.
family is not always the best to go into business with, you know. So
Yes. I'm not gonna slap you up against the head this time.
I mean, sometimes it depends on what the business is. And if you do
Yeah.
go with family, make it contracts clear, who's doing what, whatever. And it's just important to have your ducks in a row at the beginning so that when money starts coming in, there won't be any confusion. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying don't have family as partners. I'm just saying be very, very cautious.
Yeah.
I was very um, cautious and would think about who would have the passion or understand, what we want to put out. And that was Joanne. And Joanne, we're like yin and yang. I'm like, oh, let's jump off the boat. We don't need a raft. And Joanne go like, okay, first let's build a raft. Let's get the life jackets and stuff like that. And it's been fun. I love it. And, that's just the kind of relationship we have. So
Yeah.
you need someone to balance you at the counter and to counteract when you go off the deep end, anything.
Yep.
So I don't think I've gone off the deep end yet.
Well, there might have been a few times that
Yeah,
we've
a
had
few
to,
times, a few
few times
times.
that we might have had to re-record
Yeah.
because of,
And we've had some challenges, not between us, but just I've had some health challenges, and she has been my rock. She has been my rock, and I can't say that anybody in a family or anything, and it has to do with trust. So anyway, so that's my little bit.
Okay. Well, thank you for that very unsolicited compliment, which thank you very much. I appreciate that. But we do have a partnership. So anything else? Again, we didn't go into the having the business plan and having a project, plan and all of that stuff. Those are just technical things that you absolutely need to have in
We
place.
started
And
one, and we we started one, and we were had it all done, and then we had to do a jump start to get things out. So it's somewhere in
yeah,
the wind.
it is. It's there, and we look back at it and says, "Oh, we got these things
We
uh,
already
uh,
did this.
accomplished." I think the points that at least I think we're making, or I'm making in this, is that aside from the technical kind of textbook things that you can Google or you can find guides to, this is what you do if you want to start a business or whatever. We're trying to think about the things that really do come up that affect you and that can affect whether or not you move forward
The name of your
or not.
business. The
Right.
name of your business. We had to change the name of our business because our first name, there was something similar in another country, and we did not want any legal issues. So we changed our name. So you want to do research on that and secure your name. So
Yeah, that might be something that you may want to do early on.
yeah,
Thank you for reminding me of that because that was something that really. Oh my goodness. I guess if there's something people say, well, when one door closes, another door opens up.
yeah,
But we were really locked in on a name that we had originally chosen. And our original, like you said, our original research showed that it was okay. However, some deeper research showed that it wasn't a similar name that was almost used. So that's how we got to Wise Black Nanas. And I have to admit, we absolutely love Wise Black Nanas.
right.
And just the name of this podcast itself, people have really kind of embraced it. And so we think this was definitely an example of one door closing and another more, uh, um, I don't know I, can't think of the word at the moment, but a better door, uh, opened up, for us in just the
Mm.
selection of a name.
And if you
So
can, get all the names that are similar if you need them. That way, I mean, that's what we did. So,
yeah, yeah.
and
So
you don't
lots
have to
of
keep them forever. So,
so we've learned lessons along the way, and the advice again that we would give to you is heed those lessons, get advice, check out all of the resources that you can possibly check out, because it may save you, a little bit of heartache or several weeks or months in trying to figure out, what's a different direction. What's a different direction?
right.
Okay, so our next question is, hi, Nanas. I lost my job over 4 months ago. I've been doing everything I'm supposed to do, applying to jobs, networking, and all that, but nothing seems to be working out. How can I keep my optimism up that I'm ever going to find a job? Are there any tips you can give me?
Woo.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that I would say is that it takes a while. I don't know any of the circumstances around what type of job or what industry this question's coming from, but it does take a while to find another job. And that's a tough thing. And we recognize and want to acknowledge that all the time you're not working, there's a financial impact. There's a financial impact, and it's also definitely an emotional impact. And I think that certainly it sounds like that's what you're saying in that your optimism, it's been challenging to keep your optimism and your positivity going. Um, so I think tips, I don't know, tips would probably be keep doing certainly what you're doing. Um, Keep your strengths and all of the accomplishments and all of the things that you have in your, what do they say, your wheelhouse. Um, Keep all of that stuff in front of you and keep reminding yourself that you have accomplishments, that you have achievements, and your strengths are, and you're so grateful that for whatever you're grateful for, make gratitude a big, big part. So when those signs of pessimism or just, you're feeling a little defeated, or maybe you're feeling like nothing's ever going to pop for me, repeat those things. Read your resume, read your vitae, read all the things that you have accomplished and all the strengths that you can talk about, and let that boost you up. Let that keep you motivated and keep you going. Um, Dr. Charlotte?
Yeah, I've been down this road a number of times, sometimes self-selecting to leave a job and a couple times not selecting to leave a job. And it is frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, especially if you have a lot, you've been working for, you look at your resume and you really need to take off. If you have more than ten years of work history, you want to take off that. That was one tip that I was told.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
um and it's hard because you did work that time, but
Mm-hmm.
the recruiters are not the hiring managers, so they don't look at necessarily the skills. They look at the time you were in a job and things of that nature. One of the things that I had to do was strip all my education off my resume, take off my doctorate degree, and just go down to my bachelor degree.
Mm-hmm.
That was humiliating, but that got me a temporary HR job,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it was a low paying, but it was something that I needed to do, and I did that.
Right.
But I think that one of the key things that I always try to tell people when they're doing resume, have more than one.
Yeah.
I had at
Yeah.
one time I had 20 whatever customer service, education, whatever. And that way you can get the job description, look at the
Oh,
qualifying
right.
elements, and
Right.
make sure your qualifications are listed in the beginning of your resume to catch the scanner or whoever does that.
Right. So that it
So,
matches as much of the job
right,
description in that
right.
particular area as is
Because you may
possible.
not have the done the skill like full time, but you may have touched it, like you may have led it, like for teaching or whatever. You
Hmm.
may have led a group, made a presentation in your leadership group or whatever. Well,
Hmm.
that's learning. So,
Hmm.
you're not telling a fib.
Hmm.
So you have to use all of the skills that you have demonstrated
Hmm.
as qualifying skills.
Right.
Um,
Well, I think
so
the comment that you made about looking at the resume, because sometimes we use the same, I hope no one's still doing this, but we might use the same resume that we used from years ago. but resumes are kind of like living documents to me. And you're right to have, I don't know if I need 20, but certainly you need the number that you need when you're in your job search, and depending on, what industry you're looking in, you may need to have several versions of your resume. And make sure your resume's up to date with the current industry language. If there's
And
some,
a cover letter. I notice
yeah,
a lot of
yes,
millennials
yeah,
do not like to do cover letters. And
right, right,
you need, if they ask for a cover letter, that's the test of your writing skills.
yes.
So you should do that.
Yep, yep. And again, I know you think, oh, whoever has a misspelled words. Gosh, when I was doing recruiting for, various companies that I've worked for, it would just nag the heck out of me if I read a cover letter and saw a bunch of typos, or I almost would be dismissive because I'm thinking, gosh, this is pretty careless. So I'm sure no one out there is, allowing typos, misspell words, or missing information or whatever on your resumes. But make sure your resume's current and it's not outdated with information on it.
We don't need a picture of you. That's scary for a recruiter to
Oh,
open up a thing and see a big old 8 by 10 of you. We don't need that.
I haven't seen that in a while, actually. I haven't seen that in a while. The other thing though that I'll point out is that this whole recruitment has changed so much. Dr. Charlie, I think you mentioned something about scanners. Um,
Right. Right. It's
in,
a program what the resumes go through, and they're
yeah,
looking for the
certain
job
keywords.
qualification words,
Uh-huh.
and then they
Right.
spit it right or left. Yeah.
Right. It used to be, when you're in human resources and you were in recruitment or hiring or whatever department, whatever group was doing the hiring, all those resumes would come into you and you'd have a stack of resumes. And so now there's technology that, does a lot of that for you, which is, I have my own opinions about that. Sometimes that's a good thing, and other times it's not a good thing because, it weeds out candidates that, probably would be very viable for those positions. And we're depending on, if they didn't use a certain set of words or key phrases or whatever, then those don't always get pulled up. But the key to, I think, um, mastering that is just to make sure you're familiar with that industry language, any certifications or any requirements that fit and match the job, that you list those things on your resume. And then too, when you get called for positions, you got to look the part. You got to look sharp, and I don't care what job you're applying for, even in today's world where everything is so casual, you still got to look like you're serious about the
Yeah.
job. I'll never forget this story when my grandson graduated from college and he was all ready to go looking for his first position, and I'm thinking, uh, you wearing that? It's like, where are you going? Where are you going? And so, he's like, I thought I'd wear this to the job interview. It's like, oh no, I don't think so. So, we had to do this whole thing is that you go to a job interview, not for the job so much that you're going for, but you go for the next two or three positions. You always look professional. You always look sharp. And there's just, a certain way that you can do that even in a very casual work environment. And I think whoever the hiring individual is, they kind of appreciate it. Even if
Even
you're
if they're
doing a
dressed casual,
video,
they
yeah,
yeah.
even if it's a video interview, which so many are now, even if they're dressed casual, I think they appreciate the fact that, maybe a young man has on a collared shirt, heaven forbid, a tie. Or that you, as a young woman or a woman, that you have on, attire that looks like it would fit, an office environment or whatever environment you're going for. I think, people may not readily admit it or ask for it, but I do think that people appreciate the fact that you made an effort, that you made an effort. But again, this is one of those where I'd say access all the resources that you can. Looks like you're um, doing the networking. I'd say remind your network periodically. Your network might not know you're still looking after 4 months. So let your network know, hey, still out here looking. If anything new's come up or if you've heard anything, let me know. Just a gentle reminder. You don't want to, you know, hassle them or
Another tip I can add, don't that's um, do not put demands in your cover letter like I won't take less than 150,000 a year or
ah.
or I need 4 weeks vacation.
Yeah,
That's not a good thing. You say
wait
that
until
for
you get
when
a
you
job
get,
offer.
yeah, when you get a job offer. It's
Right,
easier to negotiate once you have the job offer and you
right,
sign.
right. Yes,
So,
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. You know what? Our next, unless you have something else on that, our next
No, I don't.
question, excuse me, our next question in this area is, you kind of addressed this a little bit in the question that we just referred to. I'll read it anyway, and you'll see what I mean. She says, I'm a female um, C-level professional in my 50s, and I was recently let go from my position. What advice would you give to older professionals when making a career change at this stage? Do you have any experience with career change at this stage? We're not laughing at the question.
At you and laughing with you.
We're only laughing because it's like we have mm, had many jobs in our 50s and in our 60s. So yes, we do have experience with this. Dr. Charlie, you want to take a
Yeah, I would say that I have had more jobs after my supposedly retirement from uh, Pacific Bell after 27 years than I had. I mean, I had a lot of jobs in Pacific Bell moving around, but uh, as I said, I was a little reckless, not reckless, but risk taker. And I had a lot of different jobs in a lot of different industries from 1996 through 2021. When did I retire? 2021. So they were healthcare, they were nonprofit. There was a dean academic. I was a dean.
mm-hmm.
Different things like that. So there is again. We go back to the resume and pulling out what you've done and matching it to what the job description says. And
Right.
we all have skills. It's not like you're going to tell a fib or anything like that. So, presentations is teaching and learning, all that makes sense. Um, so I would say my chaotic career started at 50. Let's see, 50, yeah, 51 as well.
Right.
When I just, I had opportunities. That's when, the tech boom was booming, and I, decided to leave a healthcare organization because I was going to get like $30,000 more a year. Now that lasted for about a year and a half,
Right.
but I'm glad I took that opportunity.
Uh-huh.
Um, or you had to look at it both ways. Either I stay and I would probably have retired from there, or I take this opportunity. And um, it is possible. I mean, your dreams are not shattered. You just have to reform and relook at what you want to do
Yes.
at this
Yes.
time in your life. It's not going to be the same thing as when you were 20, 30, or 40, because things are different. The competition is different.
Right, right,
So you
right,
want to, have some conversation with the competition,
right,
millennials or whatever, and
right,
find out what they're thinking, what they're doing, and do that too. There's
right,
nothing wrong with that. That's called
right,
networking.
right,
Um,
right.
but
Yeah,
and there's also you have skills that you can create your own work. Like
right,
Joe and I, we're coaches. We did that after we retired. So there's lots of ways that you can create um, and get involved. You have to work it. That's the you got to socialize. You got to know who's doing what. Get in with the people. I mean that has not changed in the years. The networking and find out who has the jobs
right,
and who's hiring and who knows that that political stuff still exists.
right.
So and we might have to work a little bit harder because we're a little bit more mature. But most of us don't look like our age, so we have kind of like an upper hand. So Joanne.
Yeah, I would say agree that I had many let's see, I was kind of counting on my fingers over here. I think I worked for five different companies kind of during that point in my life. I think the toughest thing, and of course we don't know the circumstances of, we said you recently were let go, is keep your mental attitude up. I would say keep your mental attitude up, because there are several things that are happening and going on that can, kind of cause you to think, oh, am I ever gonna be able to? I've got to go out there and face this at this point in my life or whatever. Turn that around to, gee, you know what? I've got all this experience. I have all these skills. I have all these abilities. And here I am at this point in my life. What is it I really want to do now? Do I want to work in a completely different industry? Because my guess is that you have a lot of transferable skills. And while there might be, individuals that are, quote, younger, in age, in a lot of the workplaces today, many of them do not have, the soft skills that I'm sure you have nurtured over, your career, and really point out those things. Point out the kind of the problem solving, the working with people, the communication successes, the point those soft skills out as a real asset to someone with the amount of experience and professionalism that you have, because that is what is sorely missing, simply because a lot of our younger workers just haven't had time to develop good skills and good abilities in those areas yet. And I think pointing out again the strengths, the wonderful accomplishments. That's what will keep you boosted, and that's what will keep you assured that you're going to be able to, to land that next role, and then to approach it from the standpoint of you're making a decision about them, just like they're making a decision about you. Really ask yourself, is this a company I really want to work for and with, or am I just taking it because I need a job? And I'm hoping that you're at a position, or, especially at this point in your life where maybe you can give that some thought. Because maybe it's not the company you want to work for, or an industry that you do not want to work for. So if you have the luxury of taking your time to really, really look, I would suggest that you really do that, and what you bring to the table is all that professional experience that you have, and all those strengths that you can bring to the table, and just really make that part of your message, make that who you are, and present yourself that way. make that evident in your cover letter, in your presentation, in your even in meeting um, um, whoever the hiring individuals are that you'll be meeting. So just keep those things going for you, and you will. There's plenty opportunities, plenty opportunities out there for C-level professionals in our 50s. So good luck, and you know, go just get out there and make it happen. And just know that many of us have made those changes, and not even in a time when the there were as many jobs available as are jobs available now. Unemployment rates were much higher than they are. So I think again, you just really need to do a lot of inner work, a lot of inner reflection, and figure out what is it I really want to do. And don't focus so much on I got let go from my position. That happens to a lot of us. And it'll happen again and again. It's like, hey, that's business. That's what happens. And not, we don't know the circumstances of that. And every set of circumstances, wouldn't you say, Charlotte, are different?
Yeah.
But don't focus on that. Focus on, okay, what do I have that will move me forward? Really fall back, keep falling back on your
Yeah.
strengths,
Don't
your
climb the mountain,
abilities.
go around the mountain.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we hope that was helpful. But yeah, we've had lots of jobs after our 50s in different industries. It's those transferable skills that are key. And you just got to tout those and keep talking about those. Okay, so Dr. Charla. Ooh. All
Yeah.
right. So this next section here, oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, so we're gonna really give it to our producer here because she's got some relationship questions here. And I think we've not talked we've not talked about relationships. We might have mentioned a few here and there, but we haven't talked so much about relationships. So, oh my goodness, we're gonna love this first one. All right, it says, Dear Nanas, when it comes to finding a great guy,
Oh God.
what are some green flags to watch for, and what are some yellow, orange, or red flags
Oh
to
God.
watch? Okay, I'm trying to keep it straight one here. It says,
Sorry.
okay, what are some green flags to watch for, and what are some yellow, orange, or red flags to watch for?
Mm,
Hmm. So
mm,
I'm
mm,
interpreting this as what are some warning signals and what are some absolute things that just will not won't work at all? What are some this is like it won't happen here. What happened here? So
mm.
let's see. I don't know. I don't know how to answer this because I tell you, might have mentioned that uh, I was in a it was a long distance relationship, but it was a long-term relationship, and it was somebody that I had known for a long time. And I think for me, green flags for me always is, somebody that I can talk to, somebody that I can share, and someone that I trust. And I think you kind of can know that early on that this is someone that you can trust, that is an honest person, that seems to care a little bit more about you than themselves. And when I notice maybe a little bit of selfishness in the individual, not only do I see yellow signs, those are to me red flags to look out for, because I think that just indicates that that's just going to become more and more of an issue, at least for me, down the road. But yeah, for me, I think the green flags are, a individual that communicates well, and that is caring, certainly likes to, share what's happening in, his space, but is just as interested in what is happening in my space. Those are some very early signs, early things that, I think I kind of look for. How about you?
I'll be light. I think I would ditto pretty much most of what you said regarding trust, communication, and, and selfishness. That is the selfishness. Just is something that really bothers me because if you can't share yourself, how are you sharing your love? This is my lived
Hmm.
experience. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
so because you're thinking the way I see it is that it's more I versus you and I because
Mm-hmm.
it's always I first, and I don't think you can have a good relationship. Or my experience has been that relationships don't last or mature when you have those two dynamics together. If you have a
Mm-hmm.
person that's sharing and one that's not sharing,
Yep. Yeah.
sooner or later there becomes a conflict.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the key thing is that trust is hard to get and very easy to lose. So
Yes.
I think working on establishing a friendship first, establishing a friendship first and going through those dynamics. I can't say that's what I've done, that I should have done, but woulda, coulda, shoulda. That's another episode. But
I agree. You know what? I agree with you because um I think maybe the best relationship I've ever had definitely was built on a foundation of just being friends over the years and, just always keeping in touch and always interested in, what was going on in your life, or, any type of family events, wanting to know about those, or
yeah,
whatever. But
caring
I,
and
I
compassionate.
yeah, good friendships, a great friendship. Yeah, I think to me that was the foundation of, you know, um, you know, um, you know, a wonderful relationship. Yeah, yeah. And while it may not have lasted or stood the test of time, or living on one side of the country and the other person's on the other side of the country,
Mhm.
even though the relationship, may not have continued to work, still great friends. Still great friends. And I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hard to keep that and maintain that when you don't kind of start off with that foundation.
right,
And
right.
and I think we all kind of
Yeah, we
want
we
this.
we sometimes start off with lust, and that's not
Yes, I was
best.
I was just gonna say, we all kind of want this hot and heavy,
Yeah,
passionate, relationship. Oh, can't wait to see you. Whatever. But you know what? That's fleeting. I mean, anybody that says, "Oh, I've had this same kind of feeling for 10 years, 20 years, or whatever," I cast a little. I
yeah,
wonder,
yeah.
about that because I think that passion changes into something else, and it's a
Yeah, for
much.
from my perspective, any a woman in today's world, there's so much going on, and so much there's so much madness going on. Is that we should be taking our time to carefully get to know a person. I mean, that will work sometime, and sometime it won't work, but
Yeah, because
having lived.
I was just thinking to myself now, who does that? It's like,
Yeah,
with
same here. Got that. Yeah.
with all the which I don't really embrace all the dating sites and the
Oh
now
no.
there's many of them out there. I just don't, I just don't. And even if I was of the age where I was, interested in pursuing, a relationship, another relationship or whatever, that's just not what I would. That's just not what I embrace. So I'm right out front, with that. But there is just seems like there's just not, we don't want to take the time, to get to know someone
Yeah.
before all of it, it's like, oh, well, what are we gonna, should I start planning my bachelorette, party or something? It's like, did you even know the person? How much time have you spent,
Oh no.
together?
Everything is right now, right now, right now, right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't even know to this question. I don't even know that sometimes we even take the time to say, what is it I really like about this person? And what are some warning signals? And are they things that I can live with? Are they things that I definitely need to watch out for?
Yeah.
We
I
just,
think
it's too
that
quick.
for the person who asked this question, who wants to tip, listen to your gut. Your intuition
Oh
is
yeah.
always right. If it doesn't feel right,
It's probably not.
don't try to force it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
I mean
it's
that's your
probably not.
natural alarm system,
Yeah.
and run or
Yeah.
walk fast or
Walk
jog.
fa walk
What?
fast. Walk fast. I know. Sometimes I tell you, sometimes I'm just driving in the I don't know, down the street or whatever, and I might see a young couple and they're just all embraced and involved or whatever. And I mean, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, oh, young lady or young man, walk fast the other way. I just want to say, walk fast the other way. So anyway,
But like our foundation folks said, a learned lesson is the best lesson. And when you touch the fire, it's hot. And you have to make a decision on whether to stay or go.
that's
So,
true. That's
we
true.
can't we can give advice and give tips, but our internal system will let us know. And then we have to make a decision as to do you stay or do you go? And
Right.
there's
Right.
lots of times where I
Yeah.
should have left, but I didn't because I was gonna make it work. But
Yeah.
it didn't work out that way.
Stayed too long, perhaps. Stayed too long. Okay, check out this next one. It says, I found out my husband accepted a friend request from his high school sweetheart on Facebook, and they have been private messaging each other quite a bit. Do you think this is cheating? What should I do? What's your first reaction?
I would I would let the husband know that I know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's where communication comes in, and also, talk about trust and,
Do you think it's cheat?
what are the dynamics of the relationship that it
Yeah,
can't be shared with her.
right. So do you think it's cheating?
Huh?
Do you think it's cheating?
Um,
Okay, you're
I don't
answering
know.
slow.
I don't know because we don't have all the details of
No.
we don't have all the details or the facts or that, so can't really give advice on a one-sided conversation.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. Now my I tell you what I when my initial response is that yeah, I think it's cheating. Um it- the even though with all of the social media platforms, things have become blurred. I, I think though it's how is this any different than making phone calls while you're,
It's
you
still
know,
emotional. If it's not physical, it's still emotional cheating.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think if this was totally everything's above board and um I think, it wouldn't have to be done in, private or in some type of secretive form. And from a standpoint of what should I do, I think that is a tough one. I don't know how to answer that because this person that asked the question knows what kind of relationship she has
They have.
with her
Yeah.
husband.
Right.
So it to me it would be a little irresponsible of anyone to tell them what to do because we don't know the circumstances of your relationship.
And I
Uh,
wouldn't go to
yeah.
the high school sweetheart because you don't know what's been told. I would go to my husband and have the conversation. You, that would be my perspective. Go to the
Y-
husband and find out
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah,
And
I mean, if you're in a situation where you can have that discussion with your husband, is this something that happens all the time, or is this the first time, or first time that you're aware of it? There's just so many things that you have to consider,
yeah,
that's happening in your own, set of circumstances. So,
and yeah, and she would have to decide whether this is the truth or not, and then make her plan of action from there. But going
yeah,
to the high school
right,
sweetheart, I think that's she's not confronting the right person. That's
yeah.
just my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you and think that this has to be discussed, talked about, resolved with the person that she knows the most and knows the best and is in a relationship with, and that is her husband. Um, I don't want to just tell someone what to do because what you might do might be very different than what I might do, based
Hmm.
on a set of circumstances. So, not that we're kind of dodging that question. I think the advice would be to look within yourself, consider all of the circumstances
Right.
around the circumstances and the situation that you're dealing with and base your actions on that. If you have a close friend that you have shared this with or that also knows your set of circumstances, seek that counsel and seek that support. But I think largely you probably already know what way you
Right.
need to proceed on this. And, I'm sorry, we're not giving you more. I just think it would be a little irresponsible to answer a question like this without knowing more of the, the situation, to help provide the best support or the best guidance that, we could provide. But
Hmm.
use your resources and, don't let this build up and build up and build up until, it don't let it build up. That's all we're saying.
Right.
Okay. We have many others. I'm just thinking that maybe we could do like a part two.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think, yeah.
yeah. So looks like that's our at least part one, our episode Ask the Nanas. So, as usual, we want to thank you for your support of our podcast, your comments and suggestions on Facebook, and directly to Wise Black Nanas. That we really appreciate that. Goodness, even though this has been a little different of an episode, we hope you've enjoyed it. You've gained some insight, even, one thing that you've heard that might inspire you to learn more, to do something, and definitely to take some action. We know this podcast is not for everybody, and it is for a lot of somebodies. So, in leaving this very different episode for us, we want to still leave you with a Nanaism, which again is just a little saying or a quote or something that we hope provide some inspiration to you. So our Nanaism for this episode 8 is a quote from Roy T. Bennett. And it is, be brave and take risks. You need to have faith in yourself. Be brave and take risks. You do not need to have it all figured out to move forward. So Dr. Charlotte, I'd like to thank you and
Thank you.
have you take care, and please keep listening and subscribe to our podcast, and do leave a comment on our Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast, Wise Black Nanas. New programs of Wise Black Nanas are on the 1st and 15th of each month. Listen in as you learn more about Wise Black Nanas, Dr. Charla Walker and Joanne Early. They are everyday nanas. They are not famous, not celebrities or rich, well, rich in life and its experiences. We want you to come back. Tell your friends. So, look for Wise Black Nanas podcast wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Learn more about them and the coaching services they offer at www.wiseblacknanas.com.